in case you don't know him, there's his name behind him, Nicholas Gleeson, Chief Financial Officer of ADNOC Logistics and Services.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and nice to see everyone here this afternoon. Let me talk to you a little bit this afternoon about one of the stories. If you had invested in on the 1st of June last year, you'd be feeling extremely happy about the investment that you've made and held on to. ADNOC Logistics and Services is one of the fastest growing industrial companies in the world, and you can only match these types of returns typically by investing in a technology organization. So what do we do? ADNOC Logistics and Services provides the services to the energy industry globally, which involve the transportation of equipment onshore to offshore, offshore to energy fields, and the energy from the energy fields to the end users internationally. So we're a mission-critical logistics provider to the energy industry in the UAE, in the region, and increasingly to the whole world. And that's where this very significant growth is coming from. You've seen this afternoon, there's so much growth coming in the energy industry here in the UAE. We're heavily tapped into that. We're heavily tapped into the growth which is happening in the region. But most importantly, that growth delivers to the whole world. And we're heavily tapped into the growth that's delivering from here to the world, but also the growth which is occurring in other regions around the world. So we have visible long-term revenue streams. What does that mean? When you're heavy industrial, you want to make sure that you can secure your investors' returns. So what do? We contract securely for very long periods of time. We've got contracts for 20 years delivery of gas with our friend Peter, with ADNOC Gas. We have contracts for 20 years with Wanhua Chemicals in China, for example. In the past 5 months, we've put in place 340 years for long-term distribution of methane and ethane around the world. We have a blue-chip customer base. So we have customers whose names you will know, and that provides us with strong credit quality against those long-term contracts. We have tremendous organic growth opportunity coming from the ADNOC ecosystem, but also from the customer base we have around the world. We have financial strength as a result of the balance sheet we positioned ourselves with on IPO. So when we listed, we equitized $2 billion of pre-existing debt and left ourselves with a negative net debt to EBITDA balance sheet. Why would anyone do that? Well, the reason is we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to deliver several $1 billion of growth into the future. So at IPO, we promised the market we'd deliver $4 to $5 billion of highly value accretive investment within the first 5 years of IPO. But we've done it. We listed on the 1st of June last year. By the middle of this year, we'd already delivered beyond that promise, and it keeps on coming, and we're going to keep on coming. So we're growing that business tremendously post-IPO to the benefit of our shareholders. In fact, as you'll see later on, we've added so many contracts it takes us all the way to 2048 in terms of contracted income, far beyond our forecast period. We support the energy transition. So while we're transporting oil and gas, we're rapidly moving up the energy train, increasing the proportion of cleaner energies that we transport internationally, at the same time as reducing our carbon intensity. We've reduced our fuel consumption dramatically on average across our vessels over the past 5 years. We only recycle vessels to international environmental standards, and we maintain our net zero 2045 target for the company. We've delivered tremendous inorganic growth for the company as well, and that's really important because that inorganic growth is built as a platform for the future growth of the company. So we're not finished, we're just getting started. We invested in Zucker Marine International in late 2022, November 2022. We've grown that business 25% already in terms of the jack-up barge fleet by adding 8 additional units in the first year post-acquisition, with significant profitability and very high utilization across that fleet. We continue to grow the integrated logistics business in our core and through that ZMI acquisition. We've also announced the acquisition of Navig8. So we'll complete 80% acquisition of Navig8 within the coming months, likely within the next 3 months. And that will give us a platform with 15 offices around the world, with some of the world's best commercial chartering, commercial operations desks, access to 2 ship managers, one in Germany, one in Singapore, access to a bunkering organization which serves 200 ports globally. So you can see the growth coming from our organization is absolutely tremendous. So when you think of ADNOC Logistics and Services, Think of a mission-critical provider serving the logistics for energy companies globally, benefiting from the growth of ADNOC, the growth of UAE, the growth of the Gulf countries, and the growth of the energy industry globally. That pathway to growth has been secured by strategic acquisitions of high-quality vessels delivered to high-quality customers around the world. So you can see on this slide, we started off with the acquisition of Zaka Marine I mentioned. We listed on the 1st of June last year. We've executed the acquisition of Navigate. We won a $975 million EPC contract, which we're delivering on G Island offshore here in the UAE. We've delivered contracts for 9 very large ethane carriers for 20 years, delivering ethane into Asia. We're delivering 4 very large ammonia carriers to support that transition to new energies in the future. And we keep on adding to the fleet. And we keep on adding with value accretive growth with a very high proportion of that long-term contracted. So our main focus, of course, is on our shareholders. And that's why we're working so hard to deliver this growth engine that's supporting that growth in value for shareholders. So if you bought our shares on IPO, you'd be up over 170% today in terms of value. And we're determined to keep that growth rate going to the benefit of our shareholders. We've announced so much in future long-term contracted activity to deliver that continued growth. I encourage you to download our presentation from our website. The data is there, it's validated. You'll be able to see very clearly where all of this growth is coming from. If we look on a pro forma basis after the Navigate acquisition, 2023 to 2024, you'd be talking about 90% growth in revenues, 70% growth in EBITDA, and 50% growth in net income. Now that acquisition is just subject to final regulatory approvals, so it's not fully absorbed into the numbers of analysts in the market. You can see that again openly by looking at the analysis out there. It's a very interesting time to have a look at our stock from the perspective of the unrealized growth. We delivered 38% revenue growth to about $2.7 billion for the 9 months ending September this year. We've delivered 148% growth in free cash flows. How do you do that? We've delivered tremendous improvement in our EBITDA margins from the business. So before IPO, we were operating at about 22% EBITDA margin. We grew that to 34% last year. This year, it's slightly down to 32% because the EPC projects have a lower margin. But that delivers tremendous free cash flow to the business, which is one of the reasons we've been able to grow so rapidly without drawing on our debt. So at the moment, our net debt to EBITDA is about 0.3 times. Now, even to a non-banker, you'll understand that means we have tremendous financial capacity for new growth. We're going to be able to borrow at very, very attractive rates as a result of our strong balance sheet, and we can deliver the next phase of incremental growth to the benefit of our shareholders using that debt from third parties to fund the shareholder benefits of growth. In terms of contracted revenue, it's really important to look at just how much we've delivered beyond 2030. So most of the market looks at the value of the business between now and 2029, our midterm guidance. But look, you've got around $13 billion of growth which is being delivered from 2030 to 2045, or 2048 actually, which is potentially not yet fully recognized in the discounted cash flow value of the business. We have so much locked in terms of future growth. We have so much locked in terms of future opportunities. We've delivered the platform for our international shipping growth, which is Navigate. That should complete in the coming months. We've delivered the platform for growth for our integrated logistics through the Zaka Marine platform. We've delivered the team locally and now globally with 19 offices around the world post the Navigate acquisition to deliver that next phase of growth in the logistics requirements for the energy industry out of the UAE, out of the Gulf, to the rest of the world. I hope you'll understand this is an opportunity that's well worth looking at. Please download the investor presentation from the website. It's worth looking at the numbers. We will continue to grow this business to the benefit of our shareholders. Just because you didn't invest on IPO does not mean that you've missed out. Thanks very much for your time this afternoon.